voting Slav TV.
On Saturday, November 11th, Polish patriots marched through the streets of Warsaw in celebration of Poland's 99th anniversary of independence. This holiday march, which takes place on an annual basis, was the biggest one in the history of the country, with local media reporting over 100,000 people in attendance. Instead of portraying this holiday march as the proud, cheerful, and uniting gathering that it was for the people and nation of Poland, the mainstream media demonized and lambasted the event before it even took place. Dozens of articles claiming that fascists were staging the country's biggest ever far-right Nazi march popped up hours before any kind of assembly had even taken place. Following the event, the mainstream media greatly downplayed the number of participants in the march and shifted all of their focus to the propaganda of some of the fringe groups that were in attendance.
But a group of women pensioners managed to stage their own protest, sitting down in the middle of the route and refusing to budge.
This is my city as well as their city.
In order to paint this patriotic march as something that it wasn't, the mainstream media focused all of their attention on a very small and very specific group of people, much as they had done in Charlottesville in August during Unite the Right.
It was a show of strength that attracted neo-Nazi groups and white supremacists from countries right across Europe.
Today, the norm seems to be that liberal gatherings such as this are deemed by the media as uniting, loving, and progressive, while traditional age-old holidays involving patriots of all ages are fascist, intolerant, shameful, and bigoted. Liberal reporters such as Sally Cohn had no issue labeling the people of Poland as Nazis for their participation in this national holiday, but would probably never bat an eye if such a march was held in celebration in a non-white country by non-white patriots. In the case of Poland, of course, these attacks by the media should come as no surprise, considering that the country has been on the EU-backed media hit list for the last 2 years now. In early 2017, Polish politicians advised that they would not accept the EU's proposed migrant quotas, and also made it very clear that the country would not be taking in a single migrant. This resulted in threats of sanctions from the EU, which was desperately seeking to alleviate the inundation of migrants in Greece and Italy. Polish Prime Minister Beata Szydło also made several bold speeches at this time, warning the Western world that its passive attitudes towards Islamic terrorism were causing terrorism to become the norm. This, coupled with several major anti-immigration rallies, has led to the complete demonization of Polish politicians, who currently seem to be the only ones realizing the threat of mass Islamic immigration into Europe.
Ich meine, von Polen aus gesehen ist das, was Frau Merkel tut, völlig irrational. Also das höre ich die ganze Zeit und es heißt also, man spricht sogar von einer gewissen deutschen Neurose.
This summer, Poland continued to battle the blackmailing efforts of the EU after they were threatened to have their voting rights halted within the bloc for wanting to pass judicial reforms. The EU warned that it would deploy its most serious sanctions if Poland's government gave itself the power to fire its Supreme Court judges. The visit of Donald Trump to Poland in July was also painted by the mainstream media as a smear campaign against the EU, claiming that Trump was only there to widen the divisions taking place in Europe. Contrary to their claims, however, Trump's visit to the country attracted tens of thousands of people, and his electrifying speech was hailed as a breath of fresh air by patriots and politicians alike. Recently, Polish Prime Minister Beata Szydło criticized the EU once again, this time claiming that Brussels was completely disconnected from the economic problems affecting the bloc countries and that their main focus was on the bureaucratic problems that they themselves had created. In the wake of the chaos affecting Europe, Poland has made many political decisions this year that serve to protect their national interests while ignoring the arm-twisting and blackmailing of the already crumbling EU. Poland's right-wing government has chosen to take the country off the trajectory projected by the EU, and naturally this has caused an enormous backlash from the establishment and their sponsored media. Poland has also emerged as the European poster child for many populist, nationalist, and patriotic movements, which go directly against the EU's agenda of mass immigration and open borders. Overall, Poland's rising patriotism comes as no surprise, given the shifting geopolitical climate of Europe, and the fact that it has proven to be so menacing for the establishment only goes to show that the Poles are doing everything right.